All right, today I want to just go over how to make a file, how to create a file, how to write to the file, and how to read from the file. And then in the next class we'll talk about a couple other things that isn't from chapter 6. So I'm going to start by making a file. So new file, and I'm just going to call this test.py. It doesn't matter what you call it. And I want to start by making this a function, just like we've been doing in class. Okay, so I'm going to just define main. Okay, and in here I want to actually create a file. So I'm just going to make a variable, and for right now we're just going to call it a variable. So I'm going to make a variable, and I'm going to call it file temp. And I'm going to set it equal to open. Now open has a couple of arguments. The first one is going to be the file name. So I'm going to call it file1.txt. And then the next argument is going to be what are we going to do to it. So I'm just going to put w. All right. So we've created an object called file temp. We've opened it. And now we got to do something to it. So I'm going to file temp, and I'm going to write to it. Okay, not writable, but write. Okay, and in there I'm going to write hello world. So that's what's actually going to be put into the actual text. Okay, and then I'm going to close that. So file temp dot close. Okay, so at this point, if I run this, and remember, how do we run this? We just call main. Okay, I can right click and say run. You'll notice that the file was created here. If I open it up, hello world 1 has been written to it. Okay, so let's do it again and see what happens when I put hello world 2 and then run it. Now when I open up file, inside that file it has hello world 2. Okay, output's exactly what it is. So now let's read the file. Okay, so what we could do, just like we were talking about, is let's make another function, and we'll call this function write file. Okay, and in that we will, and this is just going back to a little bit about what we were doing in the exam, we will move this and put it inside there, and then let's make another one called def read file, and we're just defining these functions. And we'll do the same thing here. We will create one called file read equals open, and the first argument is going to be the file name that we want to open, and the second argument is going to be R for read. Okay, then we want to create an actual memory location to put the contents of file read into. So we will just say content is equal to file read dot read, and it just reads what's in the file and puts it in the content. And then at that point we could do whatever we want with content. So we can just say something like print content. Okay, and again we want to take file read and we want to close it at the end, and what that does is just reallocates the memory location. Okay, so we've defined 3 different functions and we've only called one down here. Okay, so we've called main. So what do we need to do? Well, we need to call our other functions. So let's do write file and read file. Okay, and let's get rid of this just to kind of clean it up just a little bit. Okay, so we have 3 functions, and hopefully this will start making more sense with why we were having multiple functions, because now we can read them and write them. So let's just go ahead and run this. and notice that the output was hello world. If I come up and say pound, or if I come up and I get rid of, if I comment out read, notice when I run it again, hello world's not going to be there. Okay. All right. And if I right click over here and delete that file 1, okay, let's see if that worked. Let's see if we can refresh. It did not like deleting that file. Let's see if we did it. All right, so it did it. I had to remove the safe delete. So if I comment out write file, it's not going to do either of these functions because I'm not calling it. Okay, it says an unexpected indent block. That makes sense. It doesn't know what to do because there's actually nothing in main. So we got to actually put something in main. So let's take that and actually write the file. So now the file is back. We deleted it. Now it's back. And we can comment that one out. And we can just read the file. Okay. If I go into the file, let's see if we can open that. And let's close that and read it again. And notice that I actually opened the file up. It opened it in PyCharm, but I opened the file up and I edited the file. So I just removed a couple letters and then I closed it. Now when I run it, because write file is taken out, is commented out, read file is the only one that's going to run. It's only going to read. Okay, so that's how you read. Pretty basic. This is how you write, pretty basic. And then this is how you actually take two different functions that we have here and run them, because main is the only one being called. So main calls main, and then within main we have two other functions. And that's kind of where we were going with the whole class, was kind of showing you this is why it's going to get more complicated, so you can make a lot of other functions. Okay. All right, so let's take a look. Everything seems to be going. Now, what's going to happen when I take write out and read out? This down here should say hello world 22. It should rewrite what's in that file. Okay, so it did. It went back out, it opened up, and it wrote to the file exactly what we told it to write to the file. Okay, so for this class, I want you to be able to do something very, very similar to this. So on Thursday, we will have a little lab assignment for in class that we'll talk about, and I want you to be able to actually just do something this simple. Okay, so understand what these different parameters are here and here, the file name and that it's writing to it, the file name that it's reading to it, how to set this little variable called content and read what's inside the file out to it, how to use it, and then make sure we close both of our files when we're done with it. Okay? All right. Well, hope you all have a great fall break, and just keeping this simple. Chapter 6 is pretty easy. On Thursday, we will go over the try-catch exceptions. So make sure you've read the entire chapter 6, and I will be checking notebooks. So make sure that you go through your notebook and annotate I think there's only like 4 sections, but annotate the whole of chapter 6. I will be pulling them. Also, when you're looking at your notebooks, make sure you review brianmarshall.com. I noticed that a lot of people in their notebooks started taking a lot of shortcuts and not annotating correctly and just kind of writing on both pages. I really want you to stick with the right format and do it the right way. Okay? All right. Have a great fall break.